Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to check a fresh release from Miniart. Of course it comes in 1/35 scale and it copies G7117 1.5 tons 4x4 cargo truck with a winch. And you can see on the box art that there may be even some figures included as it's noted here, so it will be interesting to see what is actually supplied in this box. And that's why we have a commercial sample here. We are going to open it together and check why this kit might be a handy build in a popular 1/35 scale. So first of all, this is a set number 35389. You can get it already because it should be already available, and you will get exactly the same parts as what you will see in this video. Box size is typical for this brand. Here is comparison with my hand, and box art is also quite self-descriptive, maybe even buckets included, who knows. It's written here that we have truck, 2 figures, some P parts and 6 decal options. Next, on the side here we have some safety information and address of the manufacturer, so in case you would like to visit them, that's where you would have to go. And on the opposite side you can see all 6 marking options which are included here, so there is even one captured truck as far as I can understand, so it will be interesting to see these marking options in the marking guide, of course. This is a top opening box, and that's why it's so easy to open. We have all sprues packed into the same plastic bag, so just give me a second to open it and we will check everything together. As usual for Miniart, this plastic bag comes sealed, so that's why we should cut through it and take a closer look a bit later, so just give me a sec. In the meantime, I can also remind you that you can support us with a small donation. It's quite easy thing to do because you can do it via PayPal, and we have a special button on our website, so it's just a matter of you pressing this button, choosing how much you would like to donate, and all this money will be used for getting some new interesting kits or maybe improving the photo and video quality of our reviews. So definitely I will appreciate such help because you will see the change as well. So I suggest we start with the figures because it is something what is quite interesting to see, and of course we have figures separated onto several frames, so I'm going to start with this guy. Maybe let me swipe some dust a bit. Okay, so here we have first soldier. Of course, poses are predefined, so you won't be able to change much, but overall molding quality seems to be fine, so it's just a matter of careful assembly and you will be good to go. And I like that we have actually 2 figures included because that's the first guy, and then comes the second one. Here he is, and you can see that it's pretty much the same, I would say, design or parts design as what we saw on the first figure, just the different pose, just like on the box art. So be ready for that and definitely plan in advance how you would like to, let's say, apply these figures to the truck. Next we continue with the bucket. So yes, bucket is included, and this is a really great bonus because it will be also handy as additional accessory. You don't have to spend your extra money, you get it out of the box, so no worries. And here I think we have the new plastic sprue because, do you remember, we have a version with a winch? That's why we have here the plastic sprue, which basically imitates this part of the truck, and I don't think it will be difficult to assemble all this stuff, but note how detailed it is. I mean, it looks quite good. Of course, I would rather prefer to have the towing cable imitated with some metal loop maybe, or metal wire. I mean, but here we have it pre-molded, so be careful while working with this stuff. Maybe it will require some, let's say, special painting approach. Next we continue with the special template for the P parts. So as you remember, the front grille is copied with P parts, so that's why you need this thing in order to get the right shape and to make the overall assembly look a bit more realistic. Next we continue with Pioneer tools. So here everything is quite simple and understandable in my opinion. There is nothing else to add, so it's just a matter of careful assembly and you'll be good to go. And of course I appreciate that Miniart actually supplies all the necessary tools, because I mean, some manufacturers just are lazy and they do not include such stuff out of the box. Okay, next we continue with some interior parts. So here you can see a dashboard, and it looks quite nice. It's just, I would say, you have to think how to show these things on the finished truck, because yes, it has openable doors, but still it should be somehow connected with the overall diorama scene or topic when you'll be building this project. Next, we continue with these separate doors which I just mentioned. Note that door cards are also separate parts. It will be necessary in order to get the right thickness, so be ready to glue them together. Here we have also the front wall of the front cap. We also have separate frame for the windscreen, separate steering wheel, separate handles, various controls. Everything is molded separately, and that's really great because in 1/35 scale it actually makes a noticeable difference. So do not underestimate it. It's not something, let's say, unnecessary, and definitely you will see the difference once you get everything together. Next, we continue with the jerry can. So this one is pre-molded together with the clamps which are actually holding it in place. Here you can see the handles which will be installed on the top, and of course inside we have some guiding elements, so they will help you with overall alignment and you shouldn't be worried. Next, we continue with some wooden parts for the rear section of the truck. So again, it's not a difficult thing to assemble this stuff. Just be careful while separating it off the frame, because it's quite easy to break these parts and then you have to fix it somehow, which is not that pleasant procedure. And next we continue with more parts for the rear section, as far as you can see. So I'll move this through here. Just give me a sec. Let's zoom out a bit. And here you can see that we have, I would say, quite straightforward parts division. It's just a matter of separating this large base, connecting it together with the main chassis, and you'll be good to go. Again, be careful with some thin parts. They might look thick, but still it can be tricky in some elements, especially with the ones which I will show in a few seconds. So just give me a moment. Here they are. Let's zoom in. Here we have various thin parts for the engine compartment, suspension, and also rear section, and they might look okay, but still you have to be careful. And for example, I have a really great, let's say, example here. So because the sprues are packed together, here you can see one of them broken. It can be fixed with a metal wire, but it will require due care, so be sure to carefully separate all these parts, maybe with the plastic saw, as I always say in case of such parts. Here we continue with another sidewall for the rear section. Nothing special, and you can see that we have a No, it's not the wooden texture, it's just a plain plastic, and here you can check it closer so that you are sure that you can see it in a bit more zoomed in way. And this sprue is supplied in two pieces, so for both sides. Okay. Next, we continue with the road wheels. So this truck features plastic road wheels, and I will show you only one sprue because this is basically the same set of parts. And I'm glad to see the plastic road wheels out of the box. Of course, we have some guiding elements inside. Note that this design will not save you from masking, and that's why you have to be careful. Actually, here it might be possible to avoid masking because we have this internal part molded separately, so we'll have to see in the assembly manual. But what is also quite important is that we have some features on the tire walls. These are not plain parts, and again, in 1/35 scale it plays a huge, let's say, difference, so that's why I'm happy to see such parts included. Next we continue with, so this frames sprue, as you remember, for the rear section. Here we have another two frames of the same type, so in total 3 of them are supplied in this kit. Next we continue with 2 sprues which are dedicated to various drivetrain parts and also rear bed parts, so you can see them here. And overall molding quality looks great. It's just a matter of combining them together. As you can see, there are even some guiding elements, so it will be quite easy. And yes, amount of small parts might look overwhelming, but that's something you cannot avoid if you want a highly detailed model in a 1/35 scale. Next we continue with front cap parts. So here they are. Let's zoom out a bit. And you can notice that I would say the parts division is somewhat predictable. So we have a separate rear wall, we have also separate roof, and note that roof versions are slightly different because of the types of the truck you will be copying, so pay attention to this. And of course here, if you flip it over, you can see on the cabin floor some special insertion slots for pedals. So it's up to you whether you would like to install them before painting or maybe after painting. It depends what strategy you will choose for your assembly process. Next we continue with main chassis bars. So here they are, large parts which are molded together with leaf springs, and here again we have some thin parts for the suspension, maybe for the steering. And next we have fully detailed engine out of the box. Maybe you just have to add some wiring here and there, but that's something what you usually do not get out of the box, but still it looks great and it might be a good reason to open the bonnet on your truck and expose it. And next we continue with the biggest plastic sprue in this kit, so it is full of different parts. Here you can see it a bit closer. So we have a separate bonnet here, we have fuel tank, spare wheel, wheel fenders, also we have side walls for the front bonnet, wheel axles and leaf springs, some piping for the engine. So let's zoom in so that you can see it closer. And overall it looks quite great. I don't see any flash or other possible molding damage. Note that there are some molded in features, such as for example this Chevrolet writing on the sidewalls. Next we continue with wheel axles. Here we have some more parts for the engine and drivetrain, and this various pipes for the engine system and hydraulic system, if I am not wrong. So everything looks cool. Again, be careful with these parts, and here you can take a closer look from the opposite side. Next we also have the separate envelope with Miniart logo, which is usually used for the P fret, and this kit is not an exclusion from this rule. We have unpainted P fret with various parts for the interior and exterior, so a lot of things will be installed here and there. Be ready for that. And one more thing is this plastic bag with decals and clear plastic sprue. So I just need a second to open it because it's also sealed, and that's why we need to cut through it. Just give me a sec. As usual, decals come from Decograph. Clear frame, it's only one here. So we have all necessary clear parts for the front cap. Here you can see it a bit closer. And molding quality seems to be fine, but there are no masks or masking templates, so be ready for this. Maybe you will have to mask them somehow, maybe you will find a way to avoid it, because as you remember we have the windscreen frame molded separately. Next we continue also with the decals, a lot of white writing, so I hope you see them this way. And again, I remind you that we have 6 marking options in total, so it will be, you will find something to choose for your build. Next we have assembly manual, so this one is printed in color. I would suggest we close the lenses a bit so that it won't be that bright. And let's zoom out. So color printed brochure. Here we have first 2 marking options. These are classic green colored trucks with the stars. Another one, that's the 3rd marking option from 1943, from Italy by the way. Next we continue with the parts map, and be careful because parts map do not mention or do not show the unused parts, so that's why you have to be careful. I can see that there is some chain included, so just give me a second. It should be supplied in the same envelope together with the P fret. Yes, here it is. So it's a nice bonus to have out of the box as well. And assembly process starts with the main chassis, so it's a matter of combining all these large bars together. Of course, next you continue with the drivetrain and full wheel drive, so be careful with all these parts, check their alignment. And here, by the way, you can see the engine assembly installation process. So I do not see any suggestions on the wiring, so be sure to check some reference photos in order to understand where to install here this or that wire, let's say. Next we continue with detailing the chassis even more with various thin parts. Exhaust here, note that exhaust is installed together with the P clamps, which will be replicating the actual part in the truck. Then we continue with the front cap. So we start working with the interior and then we proceed by assembling all the external panels. Again, there is an option to open the doors, so it's up to you whether you would like to do so on your model. Here we assemble our spare wheel, and also we decide whether we would like to open or close the windscreen, and then we continue with the front grille. So that's how the template will be used. You can see it's a quite tricky system, but it should be easy to work, so no worries, and keep track of the overall alignment. Next we continue with winch. So as you remember, front winch will be assembled out of several parts, and I would rather play with weathering here because it will be quite a visible thing on your truck. And next we have to assemble the rear part of the truck. So again, you have to decide whether you would like to have the bench position in a folded or unfolded position. So it's also a good choice, and chain will be handy for the locks on this part of the truck. Next we continue with various Pioneer tools which will be installed on the rear section, and here we actually install this rear part on the main chassis. And by the way, here you can see also chain being used on the front. That's the separate section for figures and the buckets. Here is another truck, so it's actually US Navy truck from 1944. Here we continue with Red Army from Germany, another one from Brazilian Expeditionary Force from 1944-1945, and one more, so 7 marking options. We have truck from Italy, also quite an interesting marking option. Of course, you can also differentiate the overall look with help of weathering. It will be up to you, but this kit should be already available. You can get it in Modelimex. Of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about such release here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye!